But yeah, man, it's motorcycle racing. It's my heart, my home, and always will be.
I know that you like Austin, so looking forward to that. And dare we think about a win?
Hell yeah, man. Let's do it.
Well, that
I
would
think
be great.
we got all the tools or everything there. Let's go for it.
Definitely. Well, if we could send you out of Austin with a championship lead, that would, I think, make a lot of people very happy. Okay, MotoGP and American sports fans, delighted that we are, a week away now from the Circuit of the Americas, round 3 of the MotoGP Championship. And I'm talking to Joe Roberts, the American second in Moto2 at the moment, having a great start to the season after Qatar and Portugal. And Joe, I guess back home now, finally, after obviously you're living in Europe now, but nice to be back in LA, I'm sure. But what a great start to the season. Let's start with that.
Yeah, man, it's been a great start. We're second in the championship. That's pretty much how we wanted to start this thing, and being right at the front the whole time. So, but yeah, just back at home. We got this. Been here for a week now, hanging out with the family, with the girlfriend, and next week heading off to COTA, man. Big weekend. It's gonna be sweet.
Well, you've set it up nicely. Qatar's been a great circuit to you in the past. You've had poles there, and obviously Portugal. That's where you're hanging out now these days. So I guess they threw you a nice little start to the season, and now we're coming home. How do you feel? For the American audience, how do you feel about COTA and your chances?
Yeah, I got to catch you up more because I don't even live in Portugal anymore, man.
Oh my God!
I've actually been living in London most of the time. So
there's no sun there. There's no surfing there.
I know. They all speak English though.
That's true.
Yeah, and I don't know. I like it there. It's pretty sweet. But dude, I'm really looking forward to COTA. I think more than ever, this is a year that I think we can have an incredible weekend. I mean, the bike right now, the way it's set up, I think it'll work really well. The hard braking corners. It's something that I've not really had. That's kind of been the weak point of my settings for the last few years. I've never felt I've been able to stop the bike how I liked. Whereas now with the Pirellis and the way the setup is of the bike, I feel I can really just stop the bike well. And yeah, I've lost some weight. I don't know if you can tell, so I should get out of the corners a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that factor, because obviously the Pirellis are new for everybody. Can you tell our fans a little bit about getting used to those versus Dunlop and the pros and cons?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple getting used to them. I mean, there's some things that are very different, like the front feeling is different, but in a great way. It's something I've been missing, is that feeling with the kind of like being able to carry the brake into the corner, and like feeling like you can actually dig the tire once you get to the apex, and it's not just going to let go. That to me is such an improvement for this year. That's helped my confidence when I get on the track. But I think people have been able to see, and they've talked about it a lot in the last 2 races, is tire wear, which is something that with the softer rubber, it's a given that's something you got to think about. And I think it's now played a role in how you approach the race. Like before, you could just really just hammer on whatever you had, and it wasn't really going to make an effect on the grip levels. Whereas now you almost need to conserve your tires, and it's changing a little bit the dynamic of the race. Like Portimao, I was first half of the race was almost trying to kind of hang back a little bit and just brake a little more straight, not try to lean it over, real smooth on the throttle, because I was running softer tires and try to just carry whatever grip I had towards the end of the race. I think a good example was like Aldeguer.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
2 long laps, and it was real impressive what he did. But if you look what he did, I mean, at the end of the race, he just had no tire left. So if you ride like that, you're just gonna destroy him. So, but I mean, honestly, the new tires are just so positive for me. I'm really, really enjoying riding them, and excited to see how they'll work at COTA.
I agree with what you said about Aldeguer, because I was amazed. He just had that little purple patch where he got back up to 8th, 7th at one point. And then watching you were at second, and then you kind of just you dropped for third for a second, and I thought, oh, maybe this is as much, as fast as he can go because your times were great. And then in that last couple of laps, you just picked it up again. It's almost as though you went for a reset.
Yeah, I when I got into second initially, I thought I was gonna be able to run down Canet, and then found out after the race he was actually on the harder front tire. Um, but yeah, once I got into that position behind him, I kind of worked a little bit, like 8 laps to go to try to close the gap, and I just kind of just didn't have any real front tire left, and kind of took a second to relax and like regroup and understand what was going on. And Gonzalez got by me. But I kept having my eye would catch the TV sometimes. I could see they were putting focus on Aldeguer coming through.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, these guys behind, I got to make a move. Otherwise, I'm going to get caught up in some battle behind me. So I got a pretty good run in the last second. I was pretty good in that last corner. I was able to get a good run onto the straightaway and draft past Gonzalez. So once I got by him, I was like, shit, just keep going. Let's just go as hard as I can till the end and manage what I have. So yeah, it was a great race, man. Super, super fun.
And tell me about your setup, because as you say, it's a while since we spoke, but who are the people in your corner now? Is the Hopper still around? And what is your team made up of in terms of the people that help you?
Yeah, Hopper's around. He's there helping me out every weekend. I have my mechanic or my crew chief, Mario, and Andrea, my data technician there. I mean, honestly, it's just like probably the best group of guys I've worked with. I
Mm-hmm.
actually just enjoy being around my team and going to dinner with them. And I don't know, sometimes I think maybe I'm a little bit of a antisocial kind of guy. Sometimes I keep to myself a little bit. And I don't feel that way with these guys. I feel very like I just want to hang out all the time and go to dinner, and translates with the technical meetings too, because I actually know what's going on with the bike. They tell me what the changes are, or Andrea, my data technician, gives such good, clear advice on how I can help with my riding. Um, it's crazy in racing, man. It just takes one person to say the wrong thing and just mix up the whole
Mm.
thing, and just mess up your head, and you go into a next practice session with a wrong idea on something. Just you don't get that much time to ride these bikes. So you really need, it's not just you, but you need everyone around you to be so on it. And it's just such a collaborative effort to get the results.
And Moto2, yeah, I say this to anybody asked. They said to me, "What's the hardest motorsport in the world?" And I say Moto2 because you've got the hunger, the youngster, not don't give a shit, but they're gonna give it all from FP1. They've all got the sticker of wanting to be in MotoGP, so they've got to impress every time. There's no fools get to Moto2. There's no hangers on. And so I always marvel at the Moto2 field. And then again, this year, there's some new names coming through. You mentioned Aldegar has already got a contract for next year. I mean, is this the year that you put yourself, you hope? I mean, I know every year is, but is this the year where you can hopefully impress enough where, one of the big teams will come knocking? Or is there any room now in MotoGP?
I think all those, the next step I've had, of course, being in the category below the top one, you're always looking up, how do I get to that position? And I think I've put at times in my career too much attention on that and not just focused on what I have right in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And yeah, I mean, it's kind of a given thing. If you do well in Moto2, you get the opportunity. So right now I have the best group of guys and the best opportunity to take the most out of this Moto2 championship. I've been in it for a while now, and I want to finally just get a season together that we can just look back on and go, that was an incredible season. Uh, and it's going off to that start right now, second in the championship. And not only that, not just the positions or what we think we could do, it's just the actual feeling I have when I'm riding the bike. I remember one key thing at the test in Jerez. I got off a long run it was the end of the day, the last session, and I had finished a long run and basically had finished off what we wanted to do for that day of testing. And there was 5 minutes left of the session. And, in the past, maybe I would have just put my helmet down and gone into the trailer. but I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna go do a couple more laps just because I was enjoying actually getting on the bike and enjoying what I was doing, and it was inspiring to me actually entering a corner and seeing the different things I was able to do. I mean, I just feel like I'm riding something I can adjust to, and I can try things and I feel a difference. So I'm just going off that feeling right now, man. It's just that's the positive things you got to look at. Um, and yeah, and whatever comes up next year is next year.
Yeah, good for you. Nothing's ever perfect. Is there a side of this setup, particularly with the Pirellis, etc., that you're still working on, or have you dialed that out in these first two Grand Prix?
Well, I think there's always things to be learned. I mean, to be honest, we haven't had a lot of time on these tires. It's still pretty new. I mean, we're supposed to have 2 tests. We had a test in Portimao and Jerez. We got 3 days in Jerez. The first 2 days at Portimao were completely washed. Got about 10 laps. So, and these weekends now they've gotten shorter. The amount of track time we've got in Moto2 is shortened. So, I think everyone will just keep evolving and getting used to these things and starting to trust the tire and riding it in a way that you take the most out of it. I still don't think I've gotten every ounce of potential out of the tire and myself. So, yeah, and that's something we'll just keep working on. I'm riding tomorrow on my R1 out at a local track here, trying to get some time and just keep improving every single time. That's the goal.
And when you go and do something like that on an R1, I mean that's a road bike, and yeah, it's a fast road bike. But what are you looking to do? Just get into the rhythm and just get into the movement.
There's always, I mean, even just last week, I went and rode my supermoto bike, and there's some stuff with my body position that I'd figure out. Just different things there. There's always stuff to be figured out. A motorcycle's geometry, yeah, granted, a Moto2 bike's very different to an R1, but it is still just a motorcycle, and the geometry is there. It's 2 wheels on a bike. So the effect you have, and also just training your brain to adapt, even if it is a different motorcycle. If your brain is willing to adapt and try new things, you'll do that on the next bike. So I think those things will always play a part in it. And also the beginning of the year, I rode a lot of laps on my R1 at local tracks here on the Pirellis, and Pirelli actually stepped up a lot this year and helped me out with some tires. So that was pretty cool. But and I got a chance to ride the tires. That's the cool thing. The tires we're riding are the ones you can buy,
Right.
It's super accessible to train on, which is pretty sick. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, the timing couldn't be better in many ways. Trackhouse have just joined MotoGP. That's exciting for America. That's exciting for motorsport generally, given that he's a road racing car guy with a NASCAR team, etc. So that's another good big vote for both America and for MotoGP. But I would love to get your take on the new news that Liberty Media, who of course run Formula One and own Formula One, have now bought MotoGP, an American company based in Colorado, and a big one.
I think it's pretty amazing, man. I'm pretty stoked about it. I mean, I think America, if they can tap into America more in the market that's here, I mean, I'm an American rider, so of course I'm pretty stoked about it. But I don't know. The show's here. Hollywood's here, man. This is where it happens. I think MotoGP will always be MotoGP. It'll have its core feeling to it. But if Liberty Media could come in and enhance that and its reach to more of, the broader scale, and I mean, if they could do something similar like what they did with F1, is creating the interest. I mean, Formula One right now, I mean, if you would have asked people before that documentary came out, nobody would really know what it was. But I have people that shouldn't know anything about motorsport that say, "Oh yeah, Formula One, I know what that is." That's crazy. It's become more of a household name, and I think that's something that MotoGP has the potential for, because I mean, you watch it, you're a fan, you know how sick it is and how cool the racing is and how close it is. And I know some people are like, oh, they're going to turn it into Formula One, and it's going to, we're going to be racing on street circuits, and, the racing is going to be boring. It's like Formula One has always been like that. They've always raced on street circuits, and they've always had races that were very spaced apart. So I don't believe that that's going to happen. MotoGP and motorcycle racing has always been a close battle, and that will remain. And just for pure safety alone, we're definitely not going to be riding on the street circuit. So,
no.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome, man. I'm really excited to see what they do with it, and it's real cool.
Yeah, I know. The last time I was covering, or on a regular basis, MotoGP, we had, of course, Laguna Seca in Hayden's days and Indianapolis, and now with COTA, I feel a bit like they've done with Formula One. If we could have 2, 3 North American races, I think that would make a huge difference as well. And like you say, MotoGP doesn't really need to sell itself. If you know motorcycle racing, whether it be World Superbike or MotoGP bike, the stories are better, the risk is greater, the rivalry is more, the characters, they're natural. Everybody's like, oh, Drive to Survive it, can we make it happen in motor? Yes, of course you could. You've got to do it right. But the stories are there. They're human stories, all of them.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about motorcycling is the fact that the way it starts is just so organic. It's just, normally it's like a father and son, uh, or father and daughter or whatever, and it's just going putting your bike in the back of a pickup truck and going riding around some dirt parking lot. That's just, it's so organic the way it sparks, and then it just turns into this whole love and competition. And I've always felt car racing was a little bit more, I don't know what the word is for it, but I don't know. It's just not like motorcycling, and it's just something about getting on a motorcycle. You feel so free. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, somebody asked me that question, and I said, well, when you look at the history of motorcycle racing, it was kind of the working man's sport in that, anybody could afford to go with their dad and buy a motorcycle, which is similar to go-karts. But when you compare it to Formula One, it is chalk and cheese. There's no question that you can't just go Formula One racing, but you can start, at a low end of motorcycle racing and make it through bit by bit, and kind of get there on your own as a teenager. But then obviously it does get more expensive. But I've always felt that when I was growing up, the reputation of bikes was that it was sort of like a dirty, kind of messy, kind of not that precise kind of sport. Whereas now, if you walked into a MotoGP or World Superbike pit, it's nothing like that. It's like NASA. It's like Formula One. There isn't a piece of oil or dirt anywhere to be found. It's so precise.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that kind of thing you described, the dirty, gritty kind of thing, is still exists, which I think is so cool. That's something that I've been getting into more like recently. Old bikes or building bikes. I just literally learned how to weld yesterday, so that was pretty cool. But so yeah, I think all that stuff exists, and yeah, MotoGP is definitely another level as far as the show and the experience and how professional it is. It's definitely very professional. But yeah, man, it's motorcycle racing. It's my heart, my home, and always will be.
Well, I know you've got other interests. You like your surfing, you like your music, and I know that you like Austin. So looking forward to that. And dare we think about a win?
Hell yeah, man. Let's do it.
Well, that would be great.
We got all the tools, or everything there. Let's go for it.
Definitely. Well, if we could send you out of Austin with a championship lead, that would, I think, make a lot of people very happy. On the other side of things, I mean, there's a lot going on. New TV stations taking it up in America. Do you feel like, I mean, you're a surfer. Do you feel like there is a big wave coming for this sport now on this side of the planet?
I do, man. You know what was cool is when I got home, I wanted to rewatch the race, and it was on Max, the streaming platform, which was so sick. I mean, it was just right there, accessible. The most accessible I think MotoGP's ever been in the US. So I think as soon as it starts getting more and more exposure, I mean, people just been easily be able to watch it, and it'll grow for sure.
Well, listen, Joe, we're all excited. I remember when you were a little 15-year-old meeting you at COTA for the first time, and excited just as then for you. You've done there's a lot of laps gone under the board since then, but you're getting to where you want to be, and let's hope we can, make something special out of Austin. I'll be there on the mics as always. You're always welcome in the booth, and come do some baggers with me.
Dude, I'm going to come do the bagger commentary for sure. because I love those bikes. They're so sick. It's probably craziest championship around right now with like it's just so wild, different. I always wonder if they're keeping something in the bags, like
Well,
a
I was
six
thinking if
or
we could
something.
actually put a challenge on, like, we could sort of say, okay, hey, Travis Wyman's got to carry Banyaya's lunchbox or something, so,
Yeah, right.
so there's a reason, or, spare suspension for the,
Yeah, they could do an endurance thing where they have tools in there. They got to fix their own bikes or
yeah,
change their own
I like that
tires.
idea.
I like
But
that.
we have done a little bit of repaving and we have done a little bit of skimming, but you never know with COTA. There's going to be bumps, but it'll be the same for all of you.
Yeah, it will be. I know that first corner bump that the
Yeah.
rear suspension lifts up there, so that's going to be there for sure.
They've got the one going into 2 flattened out a bit,
Oh,
and they
great.
got the one out of 17 flattened out a bit. So it's
Okay.
improved.
I can't remember all the bumps, man. I'll feel them on the first lap,
Yeah,
but
you'll find them. You'll find them Friday.
yeah, I'll find them Friday. Cool,
Hey,
man.
listen, great talking to you, Joe. Congratulations on the start of the season. I don't want to, jinx it by saying too much, but frankly, we, the American audience, are so excited to have you home and looking forward to celebrating a great weekend of MotoGP and Moto2 for you.
Thanks, Johnny. Good to talk to you, man. Appreciate it.
Go and enjoy your bike ride.
Thanks, man. Talk.